I have crazy ADHD and I just kind of zone out all the time and my brain's just operating.
You're the founder of
SetupClaw.
SetupClaw deploys
OpenClaw for SMBs.
The Hermes agent is going viral. What do you think is next?
The next bigger change is that right now, when we think of agents, we think of these personal agents on your Mac Mini or your personal computer. Long term, most of these agents will be in the cloud. So the question is, how do we make it so a person can scale up from 3, 4, 5 agents to something like what Composio has internally? Composio internally has dozens of agents in the cloud.
Let's go back to your point of the expansion of agents beyond small business owners and beyond SM.
What I'm noticing now is that out of the many SMBs that exist in the US, most of their problems right now are solvable with AI agents. But there's way too much friction for them to solve.
And what does this mean for founders building or who want to build in this space?
There's going to be an order of magnitude more agents. These agents are going to be much more autonomous. They'll be shaping this product because they are the users, not the humans.
Okay, Michael, I'm going to do your intro a little bit differently.
Let's do it.
I'm going to start the sentence and you finish it.
Okay.
You ready? Okay. You're the founder of
SetupClaw.
SetupClaw deploys
OpenClaw for SMBs.
You've deployed
dozens of OpenClaw agents for dozens of SMBs.
And the integration layer that makes it all worth it?
It's Composio.
Michael Ryaboy, добро пожаловать на
Добро
show.
пожаловать. Говоришь по-русски?
Yes.
Oh, class.
Sweet. Okay. Let's start with this.
Yeah.
You've deployed dozens of OpenClaws in people's on people's computers, the cloud.
Yes.
And did you take the page out of the Collison brothers playbook?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, I'm from San Francisco. The Collison brothers are legends. Everybody knows the story of how they came in coffee shops and installed Stripe on people's laptops for their projects. This is exactly how we started. Originally, our tagline on our website was actually Collison installs for OpenClaw. So the first few installations were in person. So I'd go to your house, I would install OpenClaw. And actually, like side note, things were terrible until I used Composio, but that's neither here or there. So I would go in and I would install Composio. I would install OpenClaw. Yeah. I would install OpenClaw for people. And it was very Collison coded. So I would just go in, figure out what they need, figure out all the integrations. A little later, it became a little bit more standardized. And I figured out, okay, how do we set up security in a way that's good? How do we make sure that the Mac is secure? How do we make sure that we can deploy an agent quickly? And how do we make sure they have all their integrations that they need to be successful? And then eventually we scaled out. Once you do a lot of Collison installs, what's important is that you learn about your user. So we learned, hey, what's important here is not just installing OpenClaw, but also figuring out what agents the company needs. So we started building out agents for individual companies. Yeah.
We're in green Apple Books right now.
Yeah.
Can you describe what this place means to you?
I mean, it means a lot. It's the bookstore where I grew up, right? So when I was a kid, basically I would come here 3-4 times a week sometimes, looking around, trying to find a book. I would grab a free book downstairs in the bin. Maybe I'd go over there and read for a few hours and then maybe buy the book, maybe not. I'd usually get a fourth way through before I made a decision just because I didn't have that much money to spend on books. So yeah, I still come here a lot as an adult. Whenever I'm hanging out with friends in the area, I still try to pop in. These days, I don't really buy many books though.
Okay.
Yeah.
More so reading online.
Oh my God, it's just too much time I spend reading Twitter articles. Oh. People need to stop posting engineering articles on Twitter because I get so much joy out of reading them. Oh my God, this is how we deployed AI agents harness inside or outside the sandbox. Come on. Well, I'll read that shit every day of the week. That's the stuff that gets me going these days.
Wow. And do you remember what kind of books you would read when you were younger?
Oh my God, it was everything.
Ones?
It was fantasy fiction. At some point it was young adults. And then there was a lot of some philosophy. There was a lot of Noam Chomsky, which is actually where my Twitter handle comes from, Michael Chomsky.
Okay.
It was politics, all kinds of stuff. So there was history from the Granny Smith area over there. There was, fantasy over there. Downstairs, usually anything in the front that was political, I really liked.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Let's go find one of your one of your books that...
Let's do it. Let's try to walk around and see a book that I've read at some point. We'll find one relatively quickly, probably. So let's see. This is a good one. Thinking Fast and Slow by Daniel Kahneman.
Ooh, okay.
Yeah, he won the Nobel Prize for the idea that sometimes we lock in and think really hard, and sometimes we're just like, our brains are just running in the background.
Yeah.
Now, for me, most of the time, my brain is running in the background. So I have crazy ADHD, and I just kind of zone out all the time, and my brain's just operating, and I like might be eating something and then not notice that I was eating it. So yeah, so this really is important to me because it taught me that, hey, my brain is doing stuff all the time, even when I'm not conscious of it.
Okay.
Yeah, and I think it's super important to just like do stuff and not overthink a lot. And this shows that, yeah, you want to balance the two. So great book.
I should read, I should read it.
Just read the summary.
I'll read the summary, yeah. Sweet, okay. So before SetupClaw, what was the problem that you were running into?
I think the problem I was running into is I was kind of dabbling with OpenClaw, but more so a lot of the people I was working around were dabbling with OpenClaw, and everybody was having a bad time. It was very early on. The hype had never been higher, but in practice, people were trying it and having a terrible time. So I could see the potential was really high, but in practice, people were just not confident about the security implications. Yeah. They would try it for a bit, but hit annoyances. Token costs were really high. They spent hours setting it up. So I was like, this can't be a thing. So I'd go in, and I thought in the beginning that, oh, maybe some people would take me up on it, and I would do some Collison installs, and then I'd have some fun doing it. But it completely blew up. My calendar was completely booked, and it became very clear that this was an actual tangible problem to solve.
Wow. And let's talk about Rend My Header.
Yeah.
Where did that idea come from?
Rend My Header is this incredible project. And the idea was from a friend, Shrish. And Shrish is amazing at Twitter. He is incredible. He's 10 times better than I am. He gets retweeted by Elon Musk all the time. It's crazy. But his idea was like, hey, I have this Twitter header and it's valuable, right? Because people are going to my profile. Let's make it possible for people to be able to rent out this ad space, kind of like a billboard, right? And so he said, Michael, I don't want to like be a developer. I just want to like find people on Twitter, I guess, and like market. And I was like, okay, great. I love this. I'm a developer. I don't want to market. So I built this out for him. And ever since then, we realized that there were many problems with this. There's the creator marketing space is a very sophisticated place on Twitter where everybody's kind of paying to play. Not a lot of people are doing like high quality organic content like you're doing right here. And a lot of people are just like paying for posts. A lot of people are, trying to figure out, hey, is there any kind of shortcut? An example is Perplexity, right? Perplexity got kind of a lot of flack for just paying for a lot of creators. So we kind of pivot to that. We try to like be the platform to like pay and organize these creators and do that in a kind of high trust way for both sides. But it's still a crazy place. So that business is like, we have like thousands of creators on, but our revenue isn't great. So it's a very fun experiment. Okay. I have lots of hope for it, but it's still something I'm trying to figure out very much. And
how many things did you try between SetupClaw and Rend My Header?
I mean, many things. I have, some software that's like I'm living off of. That is just like on its own. That was the one successful thing out of many. And then I must have tried like dozens of things and most of them didn't work. And even SetupClaw is still very early. It's still very much a proof of concept. We don't know where OpenClaw is going to be in 3 months. We don't know how businesses will be incorporating it on a large scale. And we're kind of at the forefront of figuring this out.
Do you think the hype with OpenClaw is going to like die?
It has died a little bit. It has died. And like the best way to tell whether there's the level of OpenClaw hype is how many meetings I'm booking, right? So if like the number of meetings I'm booking is lower, okay, people are, a little less hyped about OpenClaw, right? Yeah. So the hype has definitely died down. It's still there. I think now people are like, okay, this is cool, but what actual business problems can it solve for me? Can it do that reliably? People are going in at it from a more practical perspective and less of like, this is magic and it's going to solve all my problems. Yeah.
take me back to the very first SetupClaw client.
Oh my God. The first client ever was Kelly. And Kelly was fantastic. Kelly basically said, hey, come to this cafe. I have my Mac Mini. I need OpenClaw installed. And I came with a friend because I was like, I don't want to go at this alone. And together we spent 4 hours battling and trying to set up everything for the first time. And I was pretty confident coming in. I was like, okay, I've done it for myself, so it'll be fine. But no, it was actually a really big challenge. And that was the thing that got us thinking, okay, we know after this, us and everybody else is doing this poorly, right? Now, we did this and we didn't even understand the security implications at the time fully, right? And after Kelly, we decided a few things. One is, well, I decided a few things. We can't be doing this way ever again, not even for one more client. I'm not going to spend...
Going...
No. Going is fine. But
okay.
Specifically, doing the installation in that way is unsustainable. So we had to figure out, okay, how do we make it a lot faster? And since then, we started doing a lot of remote installations where we go and give them a Tailscale link and do a lot of remote installations. That was a lot more sustainable. But more than that, we needed to make sure we had some processes to make sure that the Mac Mini is secure, that we could do this in a reasonable amount of time, and that we had tools to set up integrations in a fast and a suitable way.
Okay, and so integrations, what did you use?
Integrations are very important because OpenClaw is a tool, is a personal assistant. That's its number one use case. It's used for business automations, used for a million different things. But its number one use case at the moment is personal assistant. A personal assistant is only as powerful as the tools you give it, right? And you need to be able to manage these tools independently of me, the person who installed OpenClaw originally. So I need you to have some kind of dashboard to manage your integrations without me being present and to add something. This proved extremely important. And also simple things like setting up Slack. We can't be doing this for 3 hours every day, right? Every time. So the question is what do we need to do to make this 10 times faster so that Kelly was really patient with us, and the friend's car got towed right after that, so the money went completely down the drain. We covered some of that, but we knew for future customers wouldn't be as patient because we also learned that we needed to charge way more for what we were doing. So that was the other thing. So after Kelly, we immediately doubled prices, and then I doubled prices again, and then I doubled prices again. At some point, we had an odd number or something, and not an odd number, but a weird number for our prices. And I was asked, why is the number so weird? And I had to explain, hey, every time we had too many meetings, I would just tell Claude Code to double the price.
Wow. And so Kelly was non-technical, right?
Kelly was not really technical.
Oh, not really. Okay.
I think she was somewhat technical, but not super technical.
What's the thing they always after setup, did Kelly or any of your other clients say, I didn't know it could do that? Do they say something like that?
This is extremely common. So out of our clients, my favorite type of client is, I call this a super user. And these are the people that we set them up, we created some agents for them, we get them started, and then a week later they're messaging us, hey, I have 5 agents doing all these things across my one or multiple businesses. And these people, they know their specific domain in their lives 100 times better than we do. So the things they're doing are very creative. During our intro call, we talk about 1 or 2 or 3 things. They do those 2 or 3 things and they move on to more ambitious things. So it's very impressive to me how much non-technical people can achieve with OpenClaw. Completely non-technical, 0 coding ability.
What's one example of something someone achieved?
Oh my God, we have this one client who works in healthcare, and they had this compliance use case, which was, they talked early on. They were like, hey, I don't know whether I can solve this problem or not, but if it could even slightly help, it'll be massive. Now they have a dashboard with OpenClaw managing this internal compliance dashboard, saving them multiple employees, dozens of hours per week, potentially saving them thousands of dollars per month, if not tens of thousands. It was crazy how fast they were able to achieve this. because they were able to achieve this mostly independently, right? And in the matter of a few weeks with, some initial help from us, but really it was mostly them. And this is not something you see in the AI automation consulting space where the client is doing the work. Usually it's the contractor doing the work and trying to figure out what the client needs. It's kind of crazy because it flips this whole AI consulting automation thing on its head, where you're not trying to do things for the customer, you're trying to enable them to do it themselves.
Okay. And so you mentioned how after day one, you said you're never going to do this again with something to connect all their integrations.
Yes.
How long did it take you to find Composio, and what did you try before it?
Composio was the first thing I tried because for Composio, I was already working with a team to try to find them a DevRel. So the DevRel I found them didn't work out, unfortunately. But yeah, I was already working with the team. I was already aware of the product. I knew what it did. And in the beginning, it was a bit of not a great time. It was good. It massively saved us a lot of time, but it wasn't great because before Composio, when I started, it was kind of just for businesses and products trying to create their own integrations. You guys didn't have this prosumer side of like, oh, add integrations to your own OpenClaw, which ended up being extremely important for us later on when you added it. I remember I had a meeting at some point, and during this meeting, I noticed that the Composio UI had changed because I was onboarding like 1 or 2 customers a day to Composio manually over like Zoom or something. And I noticed that the UI had changed, and then they can now, self-onboard, right, and have their own like custom. We were doing some hacky things with API keys that was honestly not very ergonomic. And I remember doing it, and I was like, okay, this is going to save me like 20 minutes per meeting. This is fantastic. So yeah, it was very cool. And that's when I kind of decided, okay, Composio is definitely the direction to go, because you guys were moving in the right direction. We already had you in our Slack. You guys were responding to feedback, and it felt like you guys were on our team.
Awesome. And is it right that you were essentially misusing Composio for a while, bending a B2B product to work?
Yeah, it's 100% true. We were completely misusing Composio. So Composio, as I said in the beginning, was completely this like separate product for you have an app, let's make it so you can set up integrations. We were ignoring that and saying, hey, you have an OpenClaw, right? We need some way to set up integrations in some reasonable manner. We know GOG CLI sucks. We know all these other integrations are terrible, right? We don't want to be clanking out, vibe coding integrations every time. So what we did is we got them an API key. We set up our own little plugin into OpenClaw to make Composio work, and it worked. It was fine, but Jesus Christ, it was so hacky, right? It was so hacky. Now OpenClaw users can benefit of being able to do this without someone like us kind of guiding them through the process.
Okay, so you mentioned how, when Composio's UI changed, it changed when you were mid-onboarding.
I was mid-onboarding. Yeah,
mid-onboarding.
Mid-onboard. And then I went the new direction. I was like, okay, whatever they have has to be better than what we're doing.
And it ended up being true.
Yeah, no, so now we use the new one, and we use, the original Composio for our apps. So we have 2 apps. We have our OpenClaw Cloud app, StartClaw, and then we also have our new app, which is moving off of OpenClaw to give us a little bit more flexibility in deploying agents for some enterprises that don't necessarily need all of OpenClaw's features and need more reliability.
Okay. And in your own words, you probably already said something like this, but what does Composio do for SetupClaw? How would you explain it to someone who doesn't know how to write a line of code?
Your agents need tools. These tools need authentication. Someone needs to manage these authentications. You need a middle layer. You need a proxy. You need someone responsible for this. In traditional authentication, this would be something like WorkOS, right? You have this middle layer that handles and owns your authentication. With agents, it's even more important, because if you take these API keys, these credentials, and you put them on the actual computer where the agent is stored, this is a massive security vulnerability, but it's also an ergonomic vulnerability for your users, right? So you need Composio to serve as this middle layer. And the same middle layer is valuable if you're building a product, right? So instead of writing integration code for every single integration, you can just use Composio, let them handle that, let them make sure agents can use these tools effectively. Yeah.
The Hermes agent is going viral. What do you think is next?
I think what's next is pretty simple. It's two things. One, the agent ecosystem is going to be less dog shit. Right now, use OpenClaw, you have a bad time sometimes. Use Hermes agent, you have a bad time sometimes. I have customers saying, hey, is Hermes the next thing? Is OpenClaw the next thing? It's completely a software issue. Like, it could be 10 times better, but the capabilities of models have grown so much faster than we can keep up with software, which sounds crazy, but it's true. So things will kind of just work in the future. They'll be more reliable, people will have a good time, and stuff like Hermes or OpenClaw will be less of a big decision because both will be less bad, right? And then there'll be like other players that are also good. And then the next bigger change is that right now, when we think of agents, we think of these personal agents on your Mac Mini or your personal computer. Long term, most of these agents will be in the cloud. So the question is, how do we make it so a person can scale up from 3, 4, 5 agents, which even top CEOs have only 5 agents right now, to something like what Composio has internally. Composio internally has dozens of agents in the cloud. We need to get to the point where companies have 100 plus agents, 1,000 plus agents in the cloud working actively, where you can not worry about being bankrupt from tokens, where they're providing value in some way. This is going to start first in software companies because they're already doing this internally. Most thoroughly advanced software companies already have this in some form, like Composio, especially agent-first companies. These are mostly like SF, New York companies. Eventually, this will expand, and it'll expand past these very AI native companies to the point where non-AI native companies and regular SMBs and enterprises will have many AI agents in the cloud. So when we get to the point where some SMB that is making like 10 million ARR in a boring sector like HVAC, and they have 50 agents doing something across SEO, marketing, content, managing people, payments, whatever, like. That is where we're going, but we're very far away from that. And that's kind of where we're going as our business. That's our bet. We need to move towards that reality, we're going to move to that reality naturally because it's where agents are going. And it's the only way agents can scale. You can't scale on your personal computer, but it needs to go in this direction in a way where the developer ecosystem doesn't become scattered with a bunch of different agent SDKs that are like not good. And there needs to be some kind of standardized way to, figure out which sandbox vendor you use, figure out where your file system is, if you're using something like a Fuse mount or a remote file system to like make this extensible. So we need to figure out how to go back to the days of something like the OpenAI AI SDK, where agent development is intuitive and accessible to everybody. And then we need to figure out how do we orchestrate agents in a way that they're actually usable for regular companies. Right now we have really cool projects like Paperclip, and even Hermes and OpenClaw people are pushing them very far. I would say these are in the proof of concept stage, not in the enterprise value stage. And there's a lot of engineering work to do before they get to that point.
And what does this mean for founders building or who want to build in this space?
I think what this means is you have to look a little bit longer term, and at least like the 1 or 2 year period, where there's going to be an order of magnitude more agents. These agents are going to be much more autonomous. These agents will be making product decisions. They'll be figuring out, hey, like what software do we use? Do we use Composio? Do we use something else? Well, the agents will decide, right? They'll be giving feedback. They'll be shaping this product because they are the users, not the humans. Humans will have many more agents. Individuals will have many more agents. They'll have agents for finance on their phones, on iMessage. They will have agents in the cloud, and developers will have many agents autonomously managing their software in many ways, looking after PRs, doing research, thinking out how code could be better, educating the developer on how they could be better as a developer. In order to scale exponentially, you have to be in the cloud, right? So, but you also need this connection between your personal devices and scaling up to the cloud so they're synced. So there's so many engineering problems and so many UX problems to be solved because the potential here is so much higher than what we have kind of realized so far.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think right now we're living in such a big, in a bubble where only I feel like it's not as mainstream right now. Would you say like
it's not, but eventually it will expand past the bubble. So things start in SF and they expand out, right? Even in this bubble, we're not pushing things very hard. We're not expanding past where we're not reaching the limits of what these current like generation of frontier LLMs are capable of. And we know the next generation of frontier LLMs is going to be much more powerful and are going to introduce their own challenges, right? So, and opportunities. So what we need to do is we kind of, as a, SF developer community where we have the power to kind of shape this future, we have to think, okay, first of all, we need to make sure that the software we're shipping is not, vibe coded slop, to like let people actually experience this magic without getting caught up in the trivial bugs, right? Like, hey, like there's this absolute magic of OpenClaw that people are missing just because there's certain things that don't work, right? We need to make sure that people find success and aren't, blocked by these things. And we need to build things in a way where we're prepared for this next wave of more capable LLMs.
Let's go back to your point of the expansion of agents beyond small business owners and beyond SF.
Yeah, what I'm noticing now is that out of the many SMBs that exist in the US, most of their problems right now are solvable with AI agents. They're completely solvable, but there's way too much friction for them to solve it. For example, many of them just don't even have a decent website, even though that's kind of solvable with LLMs at this point. When we go into the actual business processes, it is way too hard for them to, in practice, solve them with the current tools. So in order for this new wave of agents expanding to SMBs to work, it needs to be much more accessible to these SMBs, agencies, contractors, and everybody else to build these agents for these businesses. It needs to be an order of magnitude easier, because right now it's far too hard, right? We're building out OpenClaw for businesses, agencies, etc. And it's the amount of work that we're doing to make this happen it's quite a lot, right? We have our own OpenClaw cloud, right? We have, our own kind of ways we install things on for SMBs. And, if I'm a contractor and I just want to build a solution for someone else and do it super easily, there is no great solution, right? Claude Cowork is great, but if I'm a contractor, it's not a great tool for me to use, right? If there's not a lot of open source software that people can control well and modify, right? If I want to deploy something for an enterprise, same thing. There's going to be issues. So many people are making hundreds of thousands of dollars a month, much more than us. People think of us as the OpenClaw consultancy, but we very much are not. There are people making an order of magnitude more money than us in sectors like finance, just solving these problems with OpenClaw. But one of the reasons we've kind of avoided this is that in many of these cases, OpenClaw is just not the right tool for the job. It can do the job, it can do it well, but its form factor is just not right. It's not meant to be deployed in cloud environments. It's not meant to solve a lot of these issues. Its reliability and observability aren't high enough by default, right? And has all these things that are extra and not relevant. And OpenClaw is moving in a direction where this is more possible. Hermes agent is possibly, but still not the right thing. If we want to move to a world where everybody has access to this, it needs to be way easier to ship. And people really need to organize on some standards and figure out, okay, what are these use cases and what are some software where we can make it really easy for people to solve those specific use cases with one standard framework protocol that is maintained by the open source community and agreed upon. Right now, there's so many different half-assed solutions, and it's very frustrating. For us, you can think of us as an agency and a software company at the same time. But as an agency, if we didn't have our own software, we would have a terrible time. We would be so dissatisfied. There's OpenClaw clouds that exist that just go to agencies and solve their OpenClaw hosting problems and fix OpenClaw when it breaks. And there's so many Band-Aid solutions that people are building just because these solutions have struggled to caught up to the reality of these models and how fast they're moving. So if you're a business trying to automate something, focus on your skills. Focus on the thing you're automating. focus on just making it work and don't really worry and over-index. Is it OpenClaw? Is it Hermes? It doesn't matter. Figure out, make it work somehow. Make sure you have a skill that automates the process. Whether you'll be using OpenClaw or Hermes in 6 months, I don't know. There might be something better. I won't even pretend to know, right? These things will get much better.
What are some examples of like products that these people can build with these?
I think the beautiful thing about these agent native companies is that the agents become customers. And then if you're taking the bet that there'll be, an order of magnitude or 2 orders of magnitude more agents, and maybe I'm being naive, maybe there'll be 3 to 4 orders of magnitude more agents than there are now, then these products, their growth potential is extremely high compared to traditional SaaS. And this is part of the reason some of these have like massive valuations, because people are making the bet that the number of agents will increase. If you can build a product like that, you will have an extremely strong place in a world that is moving towards agents. Examples are Composio, Exa, Parallel, Agent Mail, stuff like that, where, okay, like you're clearly building stuff that agents need. But like we know this, building stuff agents need is not a new idea. If you can build stuff to make it easier for these regular SMBs or individuals that are away from tech to capitalize off these gains of agents improving, that's an even better bet, in my opinion. If you can make it so that an SMB is able to deploy a marketing agent with very high reliability and just be vertical, it's fine. But be vertical and confident. Don't be vertical in general. And you can do one thing well and go after, there's so many SMBs out there, and just do this one thing for them with agents. This is a very viable business. Is it a venture scale business? It may or may not be. But is it an extremely good business to have? Yes.
What do you mean when you say vertical?
Yeah, so horizontal businesses are something like us, StarClaw, these like agent hosting services, create an agent, Claude co-work, open work, whatever. And they're meant for everybody, right? And they don't solve one solution well, but they're making the bet of like, agents are so capable, we don't know your specific problems. You'll be able to solve what specific problem you have on these general frameworks. And they're correct. But there's going to be a million of these general frameworks, right? Some of them will have advantages, some of them will have disadvantages for a particular person or use case. If you have some kind of domain expertise, right? Let's say you're a lawyer or whatever, let's say you're a marketer, you could create a very vertical and niche product for this exact problem, right? And then you could go and do outbound, and you can scale that, right? And sure, the total addressable market is smaller, but you're playing a very different game because you're out of the rat race. The rat race when you're building horizontal agents is everybody's improving at such a rapid rate, you have to be constantly pushing code and just trying to stay relevant. This is the situation with Conductor, T3 code, whatever. These are all these are coding agents, but there's also general horizontal agents, like we're building one, for example. If you could escape that rat race by creating something vertical for a specific use case that lasts and will be a problem in 2 years, and you'll still be better than a model that is, 2 times, 3 times smarter than it is now, then your life becomes much more easier. You have a clear ICP, you have a clear problem that you're solving, and your user doesn't start with a blank screen chat box that looks like everything else. Oh, what do you want to do today? If you could avoid this chat box in some way, you have a much higher chance of winning. Right, you still want the chat box to appear because you want it to be customizable, like it's 2026, you need it somewhere. But if you could come in and provide immediate value for a customer, instead of having the customer come in and figuring out, okay, what they can actually use you for, that's gonna be a big deal. And that's where companies are kind of missing things. They still depend on the user to provide value. No, come in and provide value immediately and let the user customize.
What's an obvious about AI agents that no one is paying attention to?
I'm trying to think really hard about this. Let me think. I mean, I think people are underestimating how little you have to do to have a successful product around AI agents. For example, Victor AI is super successful. It's literally Slack with a cloud agent. Like, it's a very unsophisticated product. People are going to make a lot of money off a text message agent in some vertical finance, whatever. Like, you don't have to do everything. But the major thing that I think people are missing is how similar the base product is going to be. It's going to look extremely similar. Historically, SaaS was just a dashboard with Auth, right? It was a dashboard with Auth. It had all the same things, but you had Auth, you had a dashboard, you had some components, you have some charts, whatever. Now it's looking like all these AI products are moving in the same direction, where there is now the element of, okay, you need some kind of sandbox-enabled powerful agent. Maybe it has a sandbox, maybe not, but it definitely has some kind of virtual file system. It is, much more powerful in terms of this hands or ability that it used to have. It used to have, it's just like an AI, SDK, simple, like OpenAI SDK, just like chatbot. Now this isn't even enough for a base product, right? And now you have this idea, okay, like even products that are like very irrelevant to these like horizontal agent platforms will have a lot of the features of these horizontal agent platforms, which is deploy an agent, schedule an agent for later, do stuff like this. So the baseline of SaaS has kind of moved, especially if you're building agents in some kind of vertical. So this means the amount of work you have to do to create, a SaaS these days, especially in some agent-related niches, is much larger. So the baseline of what the SaaS is has changed. And then people are only scratching the surface of what you could actually achieve with, generative UI and customized dashboards and stuff like that. So TLDR, I think what people are missing is that the baseline of what SaaS is, the things that are now table stakes have changed, right? There's more you have to build just to be competitive.
So you have a strong take of what DevRel is.
I do.
Your position, if a DevRel person can get their own sponsors, they're not doing DevRel, they're doing field marketing. Explain that.
Okay. This is my friend Nick's opinion. I will say it's a very, very strong opinion. So the scope of DevRel is so large. I would say what you're doing right now is DevRel. You would call yourself community, what would you call it? Storyteller, right? This is a nice title. I consider under DevRel. But like the title no longer has any meaning because it has expanded to so many different positions of so many people doing different things. There are people who call themselves DevRel that are doing like LinkedIn outbound. Like, is that an SDR or is that a DevRel, right? So it's just like the scope is so large. I would say if you're a very good DevRel, you can probably get your own sponsors. I will say that's true. It's either you have your own YouTube channel, you have your own Twitter, you have some kind of social media where if you're really good at marketing and DevRels typically market themselves as a brand, you should be able to get a brand deal, hypothetically, if you wanted to.
Okay. You're also running a DevRel job board, but it's just you.
It's a DevRel job board. It's there. I mean, people have found DevRel jobs on it, which is really cool.
Okay.
I also run a very unsuccessful DevRel recruiting agency where I find people DevRels. I originally found one for Composio, but the guy became too successful and couldn't get the job. It's building an AI agent company. I mean, you can't make this up. So yeah, it's a lot of fun. If someone's passionate out there about DevRel and wants a job, or if you're a founder looking for DevRels, contact me and I'll keep you in mind. It's very much, I think of it as an arranged marriage. It's an arranged marriage and it's very hard but once it's a right fit, it's a right fit.
Is DevRel a role? I've never heard of DevRels before. Like, is this a new thing?
It's kind of a new thing. So it used to be PLG, product-led growth, and then it was renamed DevRel. Some people in the industry say that it was renamed in order to seem less intimidating and salesy. So DevRel is somewhat of a salesy role. Like, at the end of the day, it leads to sales, relationships with developers. You're hoping at some point that leads to enterprise sales or developer sales or something of that sort, right? So it used to be a PLG, product-led growth, and then eventually it was renamed DevRel to seem a little less salesy, I would guess. I'm not really sure. But when I was entering, it was already more called DevRel than PLG. That said, when I started 2 years ago, my team was called PLG. It was a PLG team, but I was called a developer advocate. And then the team was renamed DevRel like a year later.
You're a regular at Bay Area AI meetups.
I mean, I'm somewhat regular. I'm like in San Francisco, I guess.
Okay.
I would say that's true.
What have you gotten from showing up in person that you genuinely can't get online?
Not much. Not much. If you're out there going to AI meetups, I question what you're doing, right? And I say this as someone who's been completely desensitized to it, as someone from San Francisco. I've been seeing these for, I don't know, my entire life. I don't see much value these days. If I go to an AI meetup, it's like, I'll probably see some friends there, people who go to every single one, you know, who are good. A lot of these AI meetups are completely a waste of time. Some of them are fun. Occasionally you'd go to a fantastic meetup and you learn a lot. You learn stuff you can't get anywhere else. There was one at YC that I went to a few months ago about RL that was just fantastic. Occasionally you'd go to an event that is fantastic. I went to the Mintlify Gala. I had an incredible amount of fun. But if you're going to just every single random event on a Tuesday, you're probably wasting your time. And that's my opinion, and people will disagree. And I've ran these events before. I've thrown these events. I mean, if you want free pizza, go ahead.
Have you ever met someone like very well known at any like meetups? Anyone like really cool that you look up to?
I mean, yeah, there are people, famous people, at least in the Twitter sphere, are at these events all the time. I think there was an OpenClaw event that I wanted to go at some point, but I had to work late. And I later found out that, what was that actor from 2.5 Men? You know who I'm talking about? That actor from 2.5 Men. He's like super famous.
Charlie Sheen.
No, the other one.
Oh.
The one that came in after the Charlie Sheen left and replaced Charlie Sheen.
Ashton Kutcher.
Ashton Kutcher was at an OpenClaw event, right? Wow. And I missed that event, and I could have potentially met Ashton Kutcher. So yeah, there's some cool people like CEOs of major tech companies. Next JS Conf is always fun because it's like all of these like enterprise CEOs. It's a lot of fun. A lot of cool people connections you can make.
Okay, so building in public, you do it, right?
Yeah, building in public's great.
What's the risk you accept when you share your process online? Have you ever shared something you later regretted?
Have I shared something I later regretted? Maybe I can't put my finger on a specific.
Nothing happened, so like yeah.
I can't put my finger on a single, and I have like thousands of tweets. I can't put my finger on a single one I kind of regret. I have deleted some, but like, it wasn't something I really regret. Yeah, I think building in public is probably fine. These days, people will copy your product really quickly. I do kind of maybe regret maybe not putting SetupClaw and StartClaw on TrustMRR.
What's that?
TrustMRR is a platform where you can verify your revenue. Oh. And I think we got some traffic from it, but I question its value. I very much question its value because the idea is that you show builders that you're getting revenue, but in reality, people go there to steal ideas, right? So it's like you're just asking for competition. So we'd go there and then instantly someone, like 2 people copied our exact product or 3 people copied our exact product. And then, you know, maybe some people would land on the wrong domain name. So in general, I would kind of avoid that. I would post on Twitter. I would be very careful about sharing revenue numbers. But other than that, you know, build in public. The Twitter, you can get your first $1 million in revenue in Twitter. Absolutely, yeah.
What's something new you're starting to keep building your name in this space?
Definitely my podcast with my friend Nick. So very excited about that. We're doing weekly episodes. Very much unproven. There is very little evidence that we'll succeed, but we'll do it anyway for as long as possible. What else is there?
What do you talk about on the podcast? Like, what's like the premise? Like, what's the?
I don't know. It's a once a week tech podcast, and there's always some news, right?
Okay.
The format is just us talking. Usually, we have some major topics of like X or Y events. Like we're both chronically on Twitter, so we have some knowledge of these events and we have opinions on them. A lot of engineering stuff, a lot of agent stuff, a lot of things that we just actually think are really interesting, like sales, DevRel, marketing. I think it's probably really good for startup founders and people in the AI agent space, because those are the things we're kind of like focused on as people in the space.
The first episode you did, you quote retweeted someone, I forget his name, but he said that almost everyone's doing podcasts now. Like, what's your take on that?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of people are doing a podcast. I will say podcasts are they're a long game. They're not something you find instant success in. So we're kind of here for the long game. We're only doing 1 episode a week, which may or may not be enough to succeed. But the question is, can we do enough in this once a week podcast to be successful? If not, we have a massive amount of fun doing it. So it's an excuse to hang out with Nick, who's busy. We make time for each other. We make time to do it. It's a lot of fun. That's it. Can we do better at it? Can we make a better podcast? Absolutely. Like I want to do 10 times better.
Keep getting better.
We'll keep getting better. Yeah. But it's so much fun. Yeah.
We actually have Nick on the podcast tomorrow. We're filming with him.
Yeah.
So I'm excited to hear about
there you go.
His takes. Sweet. Thanks so much, Michael, for joining this podcast in this very unusual location.
Yeah, of course. Thanks for integrating me into your podcast.
Awesome.
Yeah.